My first editorial was for Vanity Fair, I am a photographer for almost 20 years. I'm not afraid of AI. You will always think something new in your head and that AI will need to copy from you.
How did you pick up the skill and how would you teach it today?
In the beginning, I was shooting every day. Like sometimes I was shooting 45 days in a row. Wow, it was like crazy,
Why black and white?
So I feel like black and white photography is deep.
I'm interested to hear about your process.
For the last 2 years, I shot about 54 projects. I was shooting all the brands. I had the Canon, Nikon, Olympus, Sony, Pentax, Hasselblad. I tried all the cameras.
Give us one bit of, or one favorite piece of advice that maybe you don't cover in your workshop. How do you think about constructing a book and putting the sequence together?
I was shooting 3 days, one image. Doing hard work means you will get a lot of experience.
What is one mistake that you have made that you've been scared to address or reconcile?
I consider it as a mistake that I left the biggest opportunity in my life.
Welcome to another episode of the Mood Podcast. Today, Lukas Dvorak joined me in the studio as we sat down and enjoyed discourse surrounding all things art, photography, business, nostalgia, techniques, and believe it or not, nudity. From a young age, Lukas was determined to become a professional photographer, and he didn't shy away from the amount of hard work that it would entail. And this is really visible in how he presents himself and how he talks. He practiced until his fingers were so sore for many hours every day when he was younger. He also sought advice from experienced photographers and read many, many books to learn more about the art itself. He studied other authors, learned to print his own works, accept criticism, and generally be a humble person. He knew that luck wouldn't come all by itself, and the more time and hard work he invested, the better photographer and person he would become. He ended up doing a lot of work for major magazines and fashion brands, having done projects for Vanity Fair, Harper's Bazaar, Marie Claire, and many, many more. He's also a proud ambassador for Fujifilm, so his success and the pathway to it speaks for itself. He started his journey by shooting women's portraits and hasn't really looked back. He realized that every step and decision led him to where he is now, and it was his personal work through which he was trying to get better every day. I really enjoyed hearing about his unique style, his voice, his process, and his outlook on photography life. And I really look forward to seeing the result of his current project, his third photography book. So now I bring you Lukas Dvorak. Lukas Dvorak.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Mood Podcast.
Thank you very much.
It's great to have you. We don't know each other, but I've been following your work certainly since I met Stefan Kotis, who you're friends with. So thanks to him, he put us in touch, and glad to grab you while you're in Bali.
Thank you.
Before we kind of start properly, give us an introduction of who you are, what you do, and what's led you to this point where we're sat across from the desk together.
So I am a photographer for almost 20 years, I think, and since my long career, I can say now, I was mostly fashion photographer and advertising photographer. And beside that, I was shooting nudes because in I think like 2007, my girlfriend asked me to shoot her naked, and since the time I like it, so I was doing like this kind of like secondary product of my work was like this shooting nudes. In the past, I was able to do like 1, 2, 3 projects per year. And now, actually, it's like a 50-50. I'm spending my time in photography by shooting nudes and doing advertising, and I'm giving it as the same time as my fashion photography, for example. So I'm enjoying it, and I believe like this is the way that I can do it freely, because also for me as a photographer, it's something that I can have this kind of big freedom, doing what I want, which is in the beginning was impossible because you need to make money, and to have your apartments and like this. And now I am more free and I can do stuff what I like, and I don't need to spend so much time with the clients, for example,
It's like a dream.
Yeah, it is. I was dreaming about it for many years, and you don't even realize that it's starting to be like that way. And then after 3 years, it's like, oh, really? I'm now living in my dream. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, yeah,
Unpack the kind of genesis of your photography journey a little bit. How did you start, and how long did it take you to really kind of find that?
yeah.
I don't know. I guess that start.
I think that I came from a different era. And for example, for young photographers today, it was totally different because I was on the edge of the moment when the photographers were using film cameras and
Mm.
digital cameras just came. So there was like this first, let's say, affordable camera, Canon 300D, which was like 6 megapixels. It was my first camera. And this transition was good for because in the time everybody was using films, and I was one of the first who was using digital. And let's say there were also in the city there was like only few photographers. Imagine that now we have 10,000 photographers living in Prague. Everybody wants to do
Mhm.
make fashion. That time was like 5 photographers. So it's totally different. And when I was starting, actually I wasn't talented. I kind of first 3 years I was shooting just my grandmother. I don't know, like some box fields, flowers, and I didn't even know that I will be photographer. It was kind of hobby. Then I traveled to New Zealand, where I actually shoot some nature, and I made some kind of first exhibition out of it. And when I came back to Prague, my friend told me like, Lucas, you should go to this workshop of the fashion photography. It's like you will shoot the girls there. I was like, why not? It was like kind of cheap at the time. It was like 50 euros or something. So I applied and I went to this workshop, and there was standing girl in the swimming suit. She was like oiled. Some guy told me like to use the flash like that, and I was like, wow, I like it. And I pressed the button. And at the moment I know that I will be doing this. So
Wow.
yeah, and then the time was going, and I started to shooting girls, and then I actually when I start to do something better and better, I start to do I start to be assistant of one photographer for about like 1.5 year. And in after the 1.5 year, he told me like, Lucas, you will be too good. You cannot work for me anymore, and go to somewhere else. Go not don't spend your time in Europe. Go to some in Prague. Go to Europe. Go to Paris, London, Milan. So I decided to go to Milan, and I was living there for 6 years. And actually, my career started there because when I came to Milano, this is kind of very nice and long story about Milan. I came to the Italy where all the photographers were kind of lazy, you know. So when I go to agencies and start to do photo tests as sign of kind of basic first money to my first income, I shot the test and I sent the images in the night. And the agency was like, "How is it possible that you send it in the night?" It's like, I shoot it and I retouch it and I send it to you. And they told me like, but normal photographers in Italy, they shoot the test and they send the images in 1 month, and can you do it like this all the time? Yes. So they were like, okay, so we will pay you, and they actually start to pay me. And every agency want to work with me because I always shoot the images and I send it in the evening. And normally, if you imagine the models, they were coming for the 1 month, and if they were receiving the images after 1 month for the photographers, it was kind of like useless. So I was like giving this in the day of shooting, so everybody wants to work with me. So I actually became a best test photographer in Milano in just 3 months. Because I was fast. I was not good as them, but I was fast, and that was good for them for the market.
Explain what you mean by test photographer.
Yeah, it's something like that. A young model, she's coming to the Milano or like some other fashion city, and she need to have some book, some basic images. Most of the time, you need to shoot her the way that she is looking very nice on the images, kind of like nice and simple styling. Also, the images should be, let's say, timeless, so that she can have it in her book for some kind of longer time, longer period. For example, if you put some styling which is like a typical of the season, some trend which is only like 1 year, then the images she can throw, for example. But the photo test is kind of like really the basic structure of her book. if they are simple, beautiful, black and white, she can use it for many years actually, So all the girls, they need the photo test. Also, because they do some commercial, they have a lot of makeup. So at the photo test, you use kind of simple makeup, simple hair, simple styling, and they really need it because from these images, the clients can see how actually the girl is looking like.
So you went from test photographer to lead photographer at some point. Where
When I
was that
was, yeah, it was
transition?
the transition was like that. I was shooting a lot of tests, and my tests were appearing on the set cards, and then they were traveling around Milano because all the people were like watching the cards, and they were like asking like, who is shooting all these images, because it looks like one photographer is shooting all of it. And then one agent called me that he was seeing these set cards, and he would like to meet me. And it was Giorgio Reposi. At the time, he was, I think, one of the best agents in Milano. And I came to him, and imagine I was like a young boy, from Czech Republic. In my book, there was only photo tests and like maybe 3, 4, 5 great images. I never shot any fashion editorial before. And he told me like, Lucas, I like your work. Actually, I would like to represent you. I was like, really? Oh, nice. Thank you. And then he told me like, but now you have to make a book. And I said like, I have a book. I brought my book, like from my country, kind of like plastic cheap thing. And he was like, no, 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 no. This is not book. And in Milano, that time was kind of nice that that was the rule. There are 2 families in Milano. They are producing the books. You can select one of them. If you don't have book from these families, nobody will respect you here. I said like, okay, we will do it. And he told me like, okay, it will cost you like 3,000 euros. I was like, that's all of my money. Don't worry, you will make the money. So I spent all of my money on creating this kind of book. It was like a big book, really heavy. We put the kind of few photo tests I had. And he told me when he was finished it, that he is sending it to Franca Sosani. Franca Sosani was the chief director of Italian Vogue, actually the main person in fashion industry, in the world, like top one. And I was like, are you crazy? You cannot send it, like I don't have nothing. Why are you sending it to this lady? It's like she's the best of the best, like it's like, no, 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 trust me, it will be okay. And so he sent it to Franca Sosani, and Franca Sosani agreed that I can shoot for Vanity Fair because she was also directing Vanity Fair at the time. And so my first editorial was for Vanity Fair.
Wow.
Wow, it was like crazy. I was shooting. It was very hard for me because I didn't have experience. I was still like a young boy, like
How
like
old were you at this time?
I think I was like 20, 26, 24, 20, 24,
Mid-20s.
25, something like that. Yeah. And so I was shooting this editorial with this amazing stylist, amazing team. And actually, the whole thing was like going its way, and I was like kind of like not able to direct it because everybody was so experienced, and I was like kind of like this guy, like watching what's going on, and we shot the editorial actually, and it was released after I think 7 or 8 months. And when I open it, the Vanity Fair, on the first pages, the first editorial pages was Patrick Demarchile, at the time the most well-paid photographer in the world. Then was me, and then was Steven Meisel, the best photographer of the time. Of that time, I was like, oh my god, I'm between these 2 guys. It's crazy. It's like, you do first thing and you became like in the 2 biggest legend in the world. Like
so it was photographer sandwich.
Yeah, it was like kind of like yeah. And actually, I was lucky because my editor was kind of like more fashionable. They were shooting some things, shopping market, and Patrick Demarchile was shooting some girl on the bicycle. Kind of like simple thing. For them, was kind of like something not so good. They don't need it for too much, but for me it was like I need to show myself. So actually, it wasn't looking so bad between them. So I was happy about it. Yeah.
So they obviously saw something in you, like obviously skill, talent, style, whatever it was. What do you think it was that they really spotted?
I think they what they saw was kind of in my black and white photography. They saw this kind of like a timeless thing, like something that I have it in my images. Then when you open my images, you don't know what time they were shot, and also I'm spending a lot of time to make women very nice. So I think they saw this, from the scratch, from the beginning. They saw it, and many people after told me that this is kind of my strongest page, of my work, So I think they already recognize it. Even I wasn't able to recognize it, but they already they knew it, that there's something about that, And the time after proved that it was there, but maybe not in the fashion way, but more in the artistic way,
Would that be then your advice to other photographers that want to kind of do what you do, is to, that timelessness being an important part of what they should try and focus on?
I think it's difficult to say because everybody has a different, let's say, different way of thinking. My sign is Virgo. I'm very taking care of details, and I'm very precise in the work. Some people cannot do it. Some people need some kind of chaos. Some photographers are more documentary way. Everybody is different way, so they work a different way. So my way is my way because I am, my personality is like this way, So I will spend 1,000 minutes of shooting one particular image to make it perfect, But other photographers will be bored. Other people will be bored with that. But I really want to make it perfect, So this is the way. So every piece of the hair, tiny movement like this, tiny movement like this, everything must be perfect, This is like how I work. But maybe for some people, like they are like similar personality like me, it will be the way, And why timeless? Timeless is good in the one thing that if you hang picture on the wall, it will looks great in 50 years. But if you hang it now, people will think like, oh, it was shot in 90s, but it's shot now. They will not know how or what time was shot. And that means like timeless, to create a timeless image is like that you don't put anything which is like stick in the time. So for example, some shoes which is that season shoes, or some hat which is like modern or something. You're just putting things which are you don't know what time they are coming from, So that's you how to create timeless, and also you give it some style, like you have to give it some kind of like wow, beautiful, okay, let's say harmony, and these things, So
With that, when you're thinking fashion photography, that's kind of a paradox, because fashion is
yes,
is the opposite of timeless, right?
Exactly.
Because it's in that time.
Yeah, and
So how do you balance the two?
Yeah, you nicely passed me because the thing is that's why I find out that I cannot be fashion photographer. That I have to be an artist like shooting nudes, because in nudes I can use this thing, but in fashion I am like let's say stuck in the 90s, let's say, because for example I lived in New York also for a while, and I met Jet Root. Jet Root was one of the best agents of the photography from I don't know like what time, but I met him and he was watching my portfolio, my fashion. It was like, Lucas, it's kind of nice, but you will not make a hole in the world with that, like there's many photographers like this in the world. If you go back to your country, maybe you will make nice money there, but in New York you will never make it, But then he opened my nudes. I was like, oh my god, this is the thing. You can actually be best nude photographer in the world, but not fashion, And people were telling me this, and when this kind of like big guy told you, it's like a stamp, like, yeah, actually they are right, and he's right, and he was right about it. So after hearing this, I decided to go more into the artistic way of shooting nudes, and I actually became myself, which I should be before. But I want to be like fashion photographer, and then I recognize actually I am not fashion photographer. I'm the nude photographer, But I brought a lot of experience from fashion, like posing, lighting, and communication and things, and business also, So my nude photography will be not existing without my fashion experience, let's say. Yeah.
Why black and white?
That's a nice question. Actually, I can explain it by two ways. One way is like more like a biological, maybe like a physical. It's like that when you see a lot of colors, your brain is occupied with the colors, because there's a lot of things, and when you see it, there's so many thinking about colors. So you see red, blue, green, and that. But when you take it away, you see only atmosphere. You see more deeper in the like in the people, and you have kind of, I think, like you expose more emotion from the images, than with colors. So I feel like black and white photography is deeper. It's like taking of some kind of layer that you can go deeper inside, light, personalities, you can see eyes and these things. And on the other hand, it looks more cool, I think, for me. Like, I like it because I don't need to think about, yeah, there's a red, blue, green, how to make some kind of like triangle of colors, and I can just concentrate on the shooting itself.
Have you ever shot color?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. My Instagram is black and white only, but of course, when I do some commercial stuff, I have a lot of colorful images. Also on my website, sometimes they're appearing. And but most of the time, like for my stuff, I shoot only black and white. I don't want to interrupt it with the colors. I think I tried sometimes. It looks nice actually in color sometimes, but I don't want to. I'm kind of like running in my style, and I don't want
Yeah,
to
you'll be
just.
consistent.
Yeah.
How did you learn photography? I mean, I don't want to rewind too much, but how did you learn photography? And then fast forward to now, how would you kind of? I know you're doing some workshops in the future, but the 20 years from when you learned photography to now is obviously the landscape is
Yeah,
vastly
yeah,
different. How did you pick up the skill, and how would you teach it today?
yeah. I think that let's say like 50% of the what I know, it's experience. When you are shooting a lot, I was shooting a lot. For imagine this little story. Was doing workshop and I was telling people, you needed to do it for 10 years to become a professional. And there was a guy, he said like, but I'm doing it 10 years, but I'm not so good. I said like, so how many times a week you shoot?
Mm.
And he replied me like, how many times a week? I shoot once or 2 months. I said, okay. I said like, I can squeeze your life in 2 weeks, because I was shooting 2 projects per day. In the beginning, I was shooting every day. Like there was no single day. Sometimes I was shooting 45 days in a row. And that's a hard work. So doing hard work means you will get a lot of experience. And on the second part of my knowledge is books. I read a lot, like I read philosophy, psychology, business, and I read a lot. And also I'm kind of philosopher, so I do a lot of thinking about what I'm doing. Also, I'm trying to write now the book about photography, but not from like a perspective like how to shoot, but kind of like from inner of yourself. Like about your inner voice, how to listen it, how to do creativity, how kind of like creative process, and kind of like more like a inner work, not like that skills, because actually the photography skills you can learn now on YouTube, like everybody can have the basic knowledge. Every photographer who is starting now, for example, I see like all the photographers who are starting now started in a higher quality than me because they have technology, they have YouTube, and they can start like this. But not more. Most of them will make it higher because actually they don't think about photography so deeply. They can get this basic experience and they are stuck with this basic experience for the many years. But my way was very slow and deep, and that's why it was different. I think like when I spoke with other like great photographers, they were doing it the same way. It was taking a lot of years to become very good because the process was very slow and the teaching was very slow and deeper and deeper. So now you will get everything very quickly, but you are stuck with that knowledge. So I think reading the books, trying to work very hard and wait for many years, and then you will get it. It's not easy. You cannot make it like this. Some people, of course, are very talented. They are very good in a few years, but they are only 1% of the photographers who actually are so talented that they can really go like very quickly into the industry and become very good. But most of the people need time. It's experience. It's a long time process. You need to, you said today maybe the coffee. One coffee you need to work with that, try many options and make it best. So it's the same with the photography.
I think that's just the beauty of art. There's no such thing as quick art, and unfortunately, we're in a society today where everything is need it now, need it now, need it now.
Yeah.
60-second reel.
Yeah.
I need all of your information in a 60-second reel.
Yeah.
Or I need all of your information. If it's longer than 10 minutes YouTube video, I'm not interested. This is what we're battling with, right? And so I feel like there is a generational gap these days, and I totally agree with you in everything you just said. I always talk about like mindful photography and take your time, learn, have patience, try, fail, learn from those experiences, and don't just create for an algorithm, or don't just create for a click, or don't just create for a technical competency,
Yeah.
right? You have to have technical competencies, but that's just the beginning.
Yeah.
Like to be able to learn and to know yourself as much as anything else, and to understand what you're trying to say and how to say it, that takes years and years
Exactly.
and years.
Yeah.
So you can see the differences between those types of artists,
Yeah.
and maybe one isn't necessarily better than the other, but I would say one means more than the other, or one kind of artist in this area means more than an artist that can just kind of create something that looks beautiful, you know? So how do you receive feedback? And you know, especially when you first started, obviously it sounds like your lucky break was Vanity Fair and getting some amazing feedback from that, but you must have had some criticism along the way, and you know, changing that into a really profound learning experience. I feel like that is another issue that photographers have today, especially with social media. It's like, oh, I didn't get enough likes on that, so I'm going to give up. Or and other photographers be like, that one didn't get received very well, even though it's a fucking algorithm. That one didn't get received very well. I'm going to try even harder, right? So you have this kind of how was your experience, certainly in your first evolving years?
Yeah, I think like I in the time there was no social media, so but there was in my country there was this kind of server which was called Fotopatrachka. In translation, it's like photo searcher. It was a community of photographers and models, so you can sign up there, and then you can search for the models. You can put the image in the gallery. You will get some score or like that. So this was kind of motivating the time, because like you want to be very good, so you try to better to get some better points, like that. On the other hand, there was a lot of people around me who were criticizing me, like even like sometimes when I was young, I was kind of like um, let's say not behaving the best way. So I have good people around me. They were like telling Lucas, this is not good, you don't do this, and I was recognizing it all the time. So also this is the process, because it's not only like how you shoot, but also how you behave, and so there's a whole package of the things. And in the beginning, I wasn't able to receive the criticism, like as usually young guy, like no, I'm very good,
Yeah.
I understand what I'm doing. And then in the later time, you actually start to receive it, and you start to think more, and then you actually start to collaborate with people more, and then you find out that you need other people to make your work better. And now I understand, like, without your team, without the influence of other people, you cannot make it. And I find out this idea that this we think everybody's thinking that we are unique. Like I'm inside me, I'm unique, but it's not true actually, because imagine like I cannot be photographer if somebody will not make the camera for me. How can I be photographer? I need the people around me, so I need to produce somebody to make the camera for me. I need somebody to make the software for me. I need a makeup artist to make my image. I need the model to make the image. I cannot do anything if I will be alone in this whole world. I can do nothing. So I am just let's say kind of a person who is related to the others. I got some experience from my mother, from my friends, from even from people that I don't like. It's experience. And I'm just in the middle point of all these kind of little ways of this, of kind of like a quantum field, let's say. And so I'm not unique actually. We are all together like a humanity, and we can source our knowledge from others, and we need others to make our pictures great. So this is like an also very nice a thing which I learned in my life, that I cannot do it by myself. It's I need others, to help me with that.
Empathy is important, right?
Yeah, it really.
Empathy is
Yeah,
understanding that you are not, the ego, right?
yeah, yeah,
You're not the center of the universe,
yeah.
and you're not the center of
Exactly,
this project. And
exactly. Yeah,
like you said, even if you're going out and taking photos just by yourself, you still need the
Yeah,
equipment, you still need life, you still need something, right? You still
yeah,
need your health, you
yeah,
still need
yeah,
your mind, like all of this. So
exactly.
it's an interesting learning experience. I think sometimes just comes with age and practice and experience, right? We've all been there where we
Yeah,
think we're the best,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
but I think you also have to kind of go through that
yeah,
to
exactly.
really
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
have
exactly.
that
Yeah, yeah.
self-reflection.
When you will tell it to the young photographers, they will like they
Yeah,
will not understand what you mean.
yeah,
But after 10 years, they will like, oh yeah, he was
yeah.
right. Yeah.
We talked a little bit about your style in terms of certainly in terms of black and white and the timeless aspects of your images. What about your voice? What do you how do you think about, we'll talk about your books in a minute. Books are, photography books, they're really kind of an opportunity to tell the world what you're trying to say with your photos. If you were to kind of, you know, distill that down into a sentence, or how can you explain,
Yeah,
your
yeah,
philosophy
yeah.
behind your images?
I think I was thinking about this, like why I'm doing it, like, and actually, I'm not the guy that I am trying to say something in my images, like, so it's like, oh, I want to save the world, or blah blah
Hmm.
blah. No, actually, it's coming deep from my mind. I grew up in the mountains, so I like nature, and images, like, I consider nudity as a natural thing, so it was kind of like, just I just felt it in my heart, like shooting girl in the nature naked was kind of like something that was always in my heart, or in my way, and also, since I was young, I didn't even know that I was artist. I was painting my room. I was just I was just bringing some branches of trees and make the colors on them. And that was kind of like artist. I didn't know that I'm artist, but I was just always doing something. Then I was doing music. I paint. I was doing some graphics, and still I wasn't able to recognize that I'm actually artist. I was always thinking like I need to study philosophy and these things, and then I recognize I'm artist. So, and then when you recognize it, you start to do art. So I started with photography. I think everything was kind of like, in the flow. So I was doing things which I like to do, and it was kind of like, I never, I have to say, like, I uh, I think, like, I was listening it from my inner voice from the beginning. Like this way, that I just shoot what I like to do. And now I'm listening it to even more. As I said in the beginning, I'm doing 50% of my time doing like my creative stuff, and before it was a little bit less, but it was there. I always want to do something like that. It was kind of my vision, so it was generally created in my brain, and it was there. So I think that it's kind of like something which is in my, like, inner part of myself, like, nature, beautiful woman, sense for the details. I always want to have a girls like look at me with the full power of the eyes. Kind of like that they are selling you something in their eyes. Making them most beautiful in the world. This kind of like words which are in my head. But it's hard to explain in a sentence.
Hmm.
It's just, when you see the images, you understand it. Like, but I think sometimes some things cannot be explained by words. Yeah.
Well, that's the power of photography, right?
Yeah.
How do your learnings with the education that you give yourself with books, reading, whatever else you do, certainly when it comes to philosophy, business, even photography, how has that changed your photography over the last 5 to 10 years?
Uh, for example, the photographers need to know something about business, because imagine that you are like, there are like a 10,000 in comparing the world with millions of photographers. We're starting on the same point. And to become better, you need to have more money to sponsor your projects.
Mhm.
So you need to ask clients for more money, and everybody is making it always cheaper. They like to make a discounts and blah blah blah, and they go down with the prices. But they actually need to make it opposite way. You need to be more expensive. The market kind of like has to consider as very expensive thing. And then you can also become best. Because if you're expensive, the people want you because, oh my god, he's best.
Premium.
Yeah, premium. So actually you have to go always opposite way, not trying to make it cheaper and cheaper. If you go cheaper and cheaper, you will disappear in history. But if you want to make it more expensive and be premium, you will be like on the top of the hill. So this is the thing. And to ask for the good money, to actually, let's say, to trust to your value, to know who you are, and that you have like 20 years of experience. So you need to charge people for this, and they, of course, like I think like one architecture said one day that you're not paying me for what I'm doing, but you are paying for my 30 years of experience, something like that.
Yep.
So that's the thing. So
But what if you don't have much experience?
everybody was starting with no price, but definitely don't make all the time discounts. Try to, when you feel that you have some value, then charge the clients for more.
I empathize with the young photographers these days. I mean, there is an issue that we're all facing. It's like you said, there's 10,000 for every client pitch now, rather than 20 years ago where it's a little bit less. Probably in every genre of photography. So there is a competitive problem that individual photographers have to overcome when they're trying to pitch for money, right? But also, when someone does, there's a lot of photographers, certainly young photographers, who are doing free collaborations, right? Which doesn't help the rest of us.
Yeah.
It's these clients and these brands get used to cheap or free stuff, right? From photographers.
Yes, that's a big mistake. Yeah.
You can kind of see it's a really difficult dichotomy, because you want these guys, these individuals, they have to start earning a living. And maybe they don't have 20 years experience, maybe they don't have 2 years experience, but they have something. But also, I feel there is a responsibility for all photographers to not, bring the whole kind of ocean down to a level where it's like, well, we can't get any jobs because we're considered overpriced.
Yeah.
Where does a new photographer, how do they navigate that?
Yeah, they cannot do free collaboration for the first thing. They have to always explain to clients, actually, I paid for this camera, and I pay for the apartment, and I pay for the Photoshop and capture one, and I paid for the lenses, and every 2-3 years I need to buy another equipment, and it costs like 20,000, 30,000, 50,000 euros, and my apartment costs 50,000 euros. And it's a normal job like everybody's doing, so why you don't want to pay me, like you think it's like, people sometimes play photography and everybody's photographer like that. No, actually it's not true. It's the same job as others. Try to say lawyer that, oh, can you do it for like collaboration? Lawyer will be like, come on, he will start like this. Already you are paying now. So it's like that. So people need to know that it's their job and they have to value it, and they have to say like, no free collaboration. You have to pay me. It's my work. And show the clients, like, if it's like, oh, come on, just stand up. It's like, goodbye. I will not have a word with you because you are not respect my price. So goodbye. And everybody will be doing this. Clients will start to pay more. That's the thing. Like, actually, we as a photographers are teach our clients how to pay us. So if like a whole group of photographers are make all the time like free collaboration, clients will always want to ask somebody else for free collaboration. It's very simple. It's when every photographer will say like, no, it will cost, one image will cost you 2,000 euros. Everybody will be used that one picture is cost 2,000 euros, and they will be paying for it. It's very simple. So it's only like that. So don't try to do free collaborations. That's very, very simple.
Also, if we keep doing that, we're a lot of photographers are worried about the threat of AI. Maybe not now, but there's going to be bigger and bigger threats over the next 2, 5, 10 years, right? If we're really worried about that, then all we're going to do is drive these brands towards AI, right?
I think that I'm not afraid of AI. I was saying it, what is it doing, and it's every person who is watching it, you see that like all the images are the same. It's like one style, and it's very boring for me, So it is something that is looking like cool, but actually it's so boring, and the people will be actually not liking it in the moment, in some time, because everything looks the same, like a picture from one photographer around the whole world, So clients will not not buying it, and also the people will say like, I want to see the real person and real emotion, and you will see like people will be very good. You'll never get bored of it. I think I'm not afraid of it. There will be useful tools for combination with photography and AI, for example. Like you want to put this and that, but it will be like photography will be always here. Like even like you see like people said like vinyls are dead. Now people are buying vinyls like crazy. It's like this. So also you have your unique style, and AI cannot steal it, because you will be always advanced step. Because what is AI doing? I don't even like to say AI because it's not AI actually, and it's just a one big program with database with just picking things and make some combination. But you will always think something new in your head, and that AI will need to copy from you. So it's a thing, and maybe there will be some. In 10 years, people will be so angry about it that some kind of laws will be, for example, it is actually stealing from us photographers, but maybe there will be laws that is like, okay, no, you cannot without any asking from the photographers, you cannot steal it, you cannot make it in your database. So maybe it will end up in different way, but I'm not afraid of it. I'm actually not afraid of it. It looks like a big thing, but I think that it will never be so clever enough to create proper real image.
I disagree with you a little bit, but I agree with you as well. I think it will help photography in general. I think real photography will just become more valuable, right? Because it's now going to be competing against something that's not real, and therefore a real authentic thing is going to be, it's like a copy of anything, right? It's going to be a real Monet compared to a copy of Monet is going to, the more copies you have, the more value the real thing is going to be. I'm just worried. I'm just interested to see what happens with legislation. So how are we going to authenticate real images? As if that takes place, fantastic. Like I think it's going to help photography because it's going to make photography more powerful, more real, more valuable. But I do think that now I agree with you. Like you can't, it's very difficult to make, like you said, it's just picking images from the web, essentially putting them all together according to a prompt. I think we're just a few years away from being able to just say something and it come up. Like I would be able to basically in the future be able to take a photo of your photos and say, make this, right? And it will be able to do it. No problem. So, but what utility that is, I don't know.
But for me, if it will be working like this, I will be even more happy because I will need to try harder to make it so good that I will be like, oh my god, he's doing it well.
Also, that you may be able to get royalties from that, right? If they start to copy
maybe,
images
probably. But I will never do it. I will never like give a kind of like the possibility to AI to read my stuff.
We're going to get you on the show in 5
but
years
anyway,
and see what you say then.
Anyway, Facebook is about to steal it anyway. So, but also there's a thing that that we have to be considered as an artist, because I think like a basic thing of humanity is creativity. We are creative, This is like something like which is base, for us. And if AI will steal the creativity from us, what we'll be doing? We'll be so bored. Imagine now, like people are bored because they have everything, but they can still create. But if the AI will steal the creativity from you, oh my God, it can lead to big depression, So actually, we are playing with something which looking like promising, but also we are kind of like cutting branches under our legs, because this can lead to more problems and more problems and more problems. We only see like positives, but there will be always negatives to it.
Yeah,
so,
I see as many negatives. I see probably more negatives than positives. It depends how society and governments are able to manage the fallout from certainly artificial general intelligence, where we're talking almost sentient beings who are able to do everything that we do, and maybe even be creative, right? Whether they're conscious or not is another argument. But definitely that's just a matter of time. I mean, it really is just a matter of time, whether it's 10 years or 100 years. Just a matter of time. It's just how we will, whether there's a universal basic income and to look after us. But I don't know, we can still create even if the AI is creating.
I think like one sentence which I have in my mind is like that Actually, it's a part of evolution, It's like, like I had this idea that everything in the space is kind of like layering. So there was like the first, we were like a part of nature, then you have humanity, we have society, we have like a countries, and then we are the whole like a whole like a humanity, and there's a AI over it, and AI maybe will create maybe in future, maybe AI is leading to the kind of like God identity, which will maybe influence the past. You never know. It's like it's kind
Interesting.
of like kind of way that you can play with that. But maybe it's just evolution. Like we will be living here in one day in combination with AI. Maybe AI will be part of us. Maybe we'll become AIs. You never know. It's like maybe it's just evolution. Like it's supposed to be like that.
Hey guys, before I let you continue with the video, just indulge me for a few minutes. I want to briefly talk about my new brand, Foray. Founded with my business partner and photographic artist, Finn Matson, we're proud to bring you a new artisanal jewelry and specialty coffee brand. Yep, what on earth do they have to do with each other or anything at all? Well, they're both our passions. They've always been another artistic outlet for me, now for over a decade. So for those that know me, coffee has been my other obsession since I was young. And as a result of it, I'm a qualified SCA coffee specialist. So when I met Finn, some of you might have seen my podcast with him when we barely knew each other, our love for art and jewelry had a home. And that home is here, House of Foray. Foray is, amongst others, an artisan jewelry label, and it's all about the art of intent for everything that we do. Our intention with Foray was to add a touch of celestial elegance and artistic expression to our visual narratives. Every jewelry piece is a statement, a reflection of your unique story and purpose. It's not just about jewelry, it's a wearable piece of art that speaks volumes. Picture this: silver or gold adorned with an actual piece of lunar meteorite. That's right, straight from our moon, making every piece as unique as the moments that we usually capture through our lenses. From limited edition lunar jewelry pieces to finely crafted 925 sterling silver and gold rings, pendants and chains, there's something for all of you in our unique designs. We're also committed to the environment as much as possible. Our coffee is direct trade, organically produced and locally farmed, minimizing impact on the environment as much as possible. Our jewelry packaging is all sustainable and recycled, other than the moon rock, of course. Proudly eco-friendly in both packaging and jewelry production, you can feel good about looking good. And to top it off, we offer free worldwide shipping, ensuring that a piece of lunar beauty can grace your collection no matter where life takes you. And if you ever find yourself here in Bali, please come and visit us. Our cafe and community-driven art house is a haven for creatives just like you. So before we head back into the video, please just take a moment to explore Foray's collection. And as a special treat for you, my wonderful audience, Foray is offering an exclusive discount. Head over to our website and use the code below for a 10% discount off your jewelry purchase. The link and details are in the description. Anyway, thanks so much for listening, and I'll let you get back to the video now. Let's rewind a little bit back to, I'm interested to hear about your process, certainly on set, but more like, you have a concept. How does that get realized from concept to final image?
Yeah. So I'm working this way. I'm trying not to be influenced by other photographers. So I'm trying to always invent my idea in my head, or by watching, observing world around me. So most of the time, for example, I go run or I go to walk, and I just have this creative process that I'm thinking in my head about. Okay, I have this girl, she's walking in the sand. Then maybe I put this object her. She's maybe jumping on this object. She's maybe like running. She's doing this and that. And I'm just playing. Then I see the ice cream. I see this. And I'm trying to combine everything together and creating kind of processes, So kind of like ideas. I will write it down and another one, and just like all the time I'm just writing like random images from my head, And then I asking myself, okay, it's possible that I can realize this image, I can really shoot it. Yes, of course, this is very expensive. This will be very hard to make. This will be very hard to find. And so some projects are easy to do, so I'm doing it. And sometimes I save the money for some bigger stuff. Sometimes this kind of like complicated jobs or complicated shootings are so complicated that I, for example, paid a lot of money and I find out it doesn't work, but it's experience, so I will use it next time with some new experience, so this is the thing that this is my kind of like my process that I'm trying to always invent the idea in my head. And I have a lot of ideas, and then maybe I'm not using them directly, in that year. Maybe I'm using them in 10 years because they are so complicated. I don't have experience to do it, but I have the vision. So I write down like thousands and thousands of ideas. And this is the one kind of work. And the second part is like that I'm going to the city and I see something, I see someone, I see some object, I see some place, and I just have the idea out of it. So I will write it down, I see some atmosphere, I will write it down, and then I try to find like what I will add to this idea. Like I'm trying to play with. Sometimes I do combination of these two ideas together, and I'm trying to really do everything in my head. Like I'm not want to be inspired by others or like going and checking what somebody is doing on Instagram that I will do also, because it's happening to me all the time that like I was here last year and there was a girl like, oh, I saw this image of the photo, I was with the photographer and he showed me this image in his layout, and then we went to the beach and we reshoot exactly like this way. I was like, why are you doing it? It's like, it's make your own image, like don't try to copy, because people will know that you are only copying. So I'm trying to really do everything from my head. And of course, the everything, people say like everything was shot, but it's not true. You can always come up with some new ideas. And I was thinking, I was doing like some calculation, if how many ideas are here, how the possibilities, and like it end up like there's actually billions of ideas that it wasn't actually shot.
Oh,
So
you actually did calculations.
yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so the possibilities are here, but you need to kind of like more dig, to go deeper and find some things which wasn't so shot, or they were shot but kind of like simple way. For example, my image of fencers, there was a lot of images, girl with like with this cord and fencing, but I said like, okay, let's make it with a five persons fencing in like a fighting, like a this way. So I showed it a totally different way. And you have a millions of things which were here and which are here that really were shot only basically, and you can make the idea bigger. Like for example, everybody was shooting football player, like it's playing football. But if you put 1,000 football players on the one field, they are like kicking the balls in the air. Nobody shot it before. You can always think like this. You can multiply the idea. You can make it, you can make underwater football. Why not? You can put football on the moon. You can play the football in the space. Like there's so many options with the football. Just one idea, so just football. But you can make nudity football. You can make people who are eating hamburgers and running and play football. You can do so many things. So this is how my brain is working. Like I just randomly shooting ideas like that. So this is my process. Yeah.
So then how do you set it up and how do you shoot it? How do you find models?
Yeah,
And then how do you work with the models?
Yeah, so when I have the idea, I set it like, I write it down. I draw a little bit, and then I said like, okay, I will need this, that, and this, and then I'll find location, because location is mostly needed, for that. And then I have like, I'm in the position now that the girls actually would like to shoot with me. So I have many models, to work with, so I can just select the girl that she is actually good for this kind of project. Before that was harder, because if you don't have portfolio and you are kind of stranger for the girls, it's kind of difficult to do it. But now it's kind of easier. Also, you need to be professional, so you need to send them all these details, like how it will be working, and get some kind of trust, and then still you are like a new photographer. So for some people can be like, oh, who's this guy, stranger, writing me
Especially if they're
about.
going to be naked.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's also like a communication. You need to say the girls how it will be processed, call them maybe, or meet them on coffee and explain them what is your work, and that's really art and like that. And so you will find a girl, and then you go on the location and you start shooting. And you will find out it doesn't work.
Yep, all the time.
And then you need to actually like adapt to it, and in that moment very quickly find out something else, or like change your vision to something else. So actually I have these visions, but they never work exactly how is it in my head. So images ending up in different way, different position, a little bit different lighting, but the base, the idea is there, but in a little bit different way that I was thinking in the original image. So I'm not stick to my painting, like I will do it like this way exactly. No, this idea is just kind of like a basic carrier of that thing, and then on the location, I just do random options, and from that I see, oh, this has a potential, and I spend more time, and when I see this really good, I finish it. I told to your wife, I was showing her picture today, that I was shooting 3 days one image here, and my model, she was like, again, Lucas, I don't want to shoot it again. It's like I'm so bored. I was like, but I said, like, this will be like fantastic image. We need to reshoot it again, And then I was reshooting it for the third day, and finally I got the shot I want, So sometimes it's like this, If sometimes for the people it can be hard because I really want to make it perfect, and I spend a lot of time and I'm reshooting my images. I shot some image in 1 year. I'm not publishing it because I know that it can be more better. So I'm going next year and I reshoot it, and then finally I have the result I like, So most of the time I'm really reshooting projects. I just make it like a demo version, and I learn from the demo, and I go and make it again and again, and then I have a result which I like,
Is that why we'll bring your book out in a minute, but your recent book, I know you're working on another one at the moment, you said it took you 13 years to kind of
Yes.
put that together?
But it was a little bit different because that time I was doing the commercial stuff, fashion, and every year I was able to do some like kind of like 3, 4, 5 projects for myself, And after COVID time, I realized that really I have to do more art. So I switched it to 50%, So it was like a 5% to 50, and it's a big change because now for example, for the last 2 years, I shot about 54 projects. 54 projects. It means like every year is like about, 27 projects a year, which is like 2 projects per month, which is very active, So I'm trying always to do a lot now, and so the new book will be shot in 5 years, on 4.5 years. It will be double size than this book, So because I spent much more time with that,
Let's have a look at the book.
Okay.
So this book is called
13.
13.
Very simple, yeah.
Because of the number of years that it covers.
Yeah. Also, I had an exhibition in Prague, which was in last year, and it was in like a gallery, which I had the first one in 2010, and then 2023. So I also call it 13. Also, 13 is kind of my lucky number. So everything is like that, So yeah, so this is like a 13 years baby, let's say. Or completed works from all these, from the beginning of my nude photography until the 2021.
This is a beautiful image. I love the negative space. Very minimalist.
Yeah, there's a nice story about it also, like the cover, because it was kind of like abandoned, not working place, kind of hotel or bar in Lago di Como, and I'm the kind of photographer. If I want to have this image, I'm breaking the rules. So I jump over the fence, there, and I walk to this place because I knew that it will be a great image. So sometimes I'm kind of like breaking the rules, to make really the images, So exactly it was in this place, and I was there back in 5 years ago, because my friends, they want to make the image on the stairs, When we came there to Milan, to this Lago di Como, it was actually reconstructed. And the walls were higher, so we cannot jump over them.
This is Lake Como.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we were like, oh my god, because we traveled from Prague to Italy. It was like 12 hours of drive. And we were like kind of like, oh, it's pity. We cannot make it. Yeah. And then actually the owner came to this place because it was in the April or something, and he was just going to count the electricity or something, And I showed him this image that I was shooting there a couple of years ago, and was like, oh, it's fantastic, come inside, I will make a cappuccino, you can shoot here, So actually we end up shooting there, invited by the owner there, It was very funny. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
What I love the most about this image, and I I'm sure it was deliberate, but her hair being reflective of the top of the peaks,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
white hair with the white snow-capped
Yeah.
mountains. It's
It looks
fantastic.
very calm, but actually it was very windy, and the whole thing
Yeah, you
was
can tell with the
moving.
water. Yeah.
It was moving, and it was kind of colder there, you know. So, but
Middle of the day.
yeah, yeah. But the model, she was always like very active and want to make it, you know. So
This is
it was
wonderful.
easy. Yeah.
So, you know, tell me more about putting this book together, because I know from experience, as well as talking to other artists that put photography books together, it's a huge project, right? Where do you even, you know, you have all of these images. How do you think about constructing a book and putting the sequence together?
The first book which I made in 2010 was kind of like a little book. It was containing only about, I think, 70 images. But this was like a bigger thing. And I started to think about it in 2017. And I created kind of demo, you know, those kind of like book, like a square size. And I created like a 5 pieces of it. And I was to have like think, and I was just walking and showing it to people. And I was in New York, and I met the one guy, the art director, Pierre Achard, and I show him my book. It's like, Lucas, it's like it looks not good, you know. But your images are amazing, but the format, the thing it is really not good. And he was really good, and he was helping me. We were working and talking about my book, and he was telling me like how to put pictures in kind of dynamic, you know, how to make the people like breathe for a second, to, you know, not to like put strong images next to each
Next to each other.
other, give it some kind of like consistency, and also like breaks and these things, like, and the format, like, let's, because originally there was a written like where is it, and there was all the images were in the white frame. He said like, get rid of it, you know, put everything in a bag, you know, keep it like as like a full photography book, you know, with the experiences just about photography. And I think I spent with him like 6 days talking about my book, you know, and I got all these knowledges. And then I went back to Prague. It was 2020, and I knew that I will release it in 2 years. So I shot some images which I didn't publish on Instagram and everywhere. I want to make something new on in my book. And then the easiest way how to make the book was to print all the images. I think there were like 400 candidates, and I print it, and I make like kind of like a path on the ground, and I put them on the ground, and like just like playing with the cars. Like I was moving one here, one there, one there, and you know, like for a week I was walking inside, and then it started to be in harmony, you know, and then I know that it will be like this. So then I put the numbers picture one by one, and it was like that.
And a conscious decision for no writing or no titles or no captions.
Yeah, they are in the end. Everything
they
is
are?
in the end. There's like index, the small images, and you see that there's this there's like,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So it's better to put it on the back, because if there will be some words under the image, the images will not be so clean, you know. So I want to keep the um, pictures as a pictures without any information. Then you can read after, you know, like. But most of the photographers, I think, they are doing it in the book. You know, it's not something that I come by myself. You know, it's something which is kind of standard, I think, in the books.
There's a lot of stillness and calm across, and then I pick a photo that's a bit more dynamic, but that is generally what I get from these. I mean, they're absolutely stunning, and they certainly work really well together. I mean, you think of, I mean, how many pages?
This is like
Couple
about
hundred?
200. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you'd think, just as a concept, with a model, a woman model, beautiful woman naked in every page, you think, well, that's, you know, 200 pages of that can be a little bit, you know, samey, but it's absolutely not. It just, there's so much complexity and so much kind of emotion in just the stillness of a lot of these shots. I love it.
I'm trying to do every project a different way, and I'm thinking like, even now the new book will be bigger and there'll be much more ideas, much more dynamics, and I'm thinking about the whole thing, like a whole book, so there will be like very dynamic images, there'll be very calm images, kind of like classic shots, something experimental, and all together will be me, but you're thinking as a book, you start to think like differently, not just one project, but
Yep.
about the whole thing. It's a little bit different, and then you're trying to do as many original images as you can, so it's a different and when I finished this book, actually, I was like, oh, it's like the end, what I will be doing now. Because you feel like, oh my god, this is like 13 years, and then wow, and then what to do, like, and then I was like, oh, maybe I can do another one. Yeah. And then I find on myself that I feel it like this is like the main thing for me, for my life. I just set my life on the books, like the create books, and then I will finish this one. I have already idea about another one, so, and then you have kind of like a target, to where to go. So I love the way how I can create the books. I'm so excited to make another one. So
I'm excited as well. How can we get our hands on this book?
You can order it on my website, lukasdvorak.net. And of course, in my country, for example, they are in the bookstores, but I would like to go with that around Europe, more in some bookstores around Europe, but I didn't have the time still to make it. So, but website is the best way. Yeah.
How much is it?
It's like €70 for this version. There's also like a limited edition, but they are already gone. I think I have like only 5 last pieces. Yeah.
What's different? What's different?
It's with a certificate and it's sign it.
Okay.
Yeah, but the new one I will make a big difference between them. There will be a limited edition which will be very big, like a really big one.
So that's what brings you to Bali, basically shooting for the new book.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So the difference with this book is you're shooting specifically for the book, whereas this one was kind of retrospective.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm much more productive in the terms of fine art now. So really, I do a lot of projects. Like it's kind of like process. It's like when you start running, you run and you want to run more and more and more. So it's like that. I'm shooting photography and I'm doing more and more, and I'm just surprising myself that I can do all it. Even like it's 3 years from this book, and I feel like I'm doing even more, like I'm just moving boundaries more forward, I am, maybe because I'm divorced, maybe I'm kind of free time now, so with the freedom I can create more, so I see my images, I feel in the 3 years that there's a big step forward, so.
Wonderful. So now you talk about 50-50 between personal projects, artwork, and commercial. Is that reflective in kind of your income as well, or is it more because we always think, well, commercial brings in your money, and then in your spare time you kind of use that money to do your personal stuff? Is that the same with you?
It's actually when I produced this book, that was a big decision. I can have a sponsor, somebody who will take care of the whole book and pay for it, and I don't need to make any investment, and they will be, I will get some share of it. And I made this kind of risk. I said like, I will release it by myself. And I was thinking like it's a maybe crazy idea, but in the end, after 3 months, the book was paid. So you create income from the book. Then also I sell the prints, which is also nice income. It's not like a crazy big income, but it's income that can pay some of your projects. So actually, my art started to make some income. And commercial stuff. It was very interesting how this happened, because in one day I decided I will clean all my Instagram from my commercial stuff. And I will keep it just the news and my black and white images. And I was thinking like I'm doing kamikaze, because if I will do this, people will not see my commercial stuff. They will never give me a job.
Yep.
But because I create the consistency on my Instagram, and my Instagram was growing very fast, people start to give me more jobs, because they see that my work was powerful, and they were dreaming about my images, and they were imagining, of course, I can do it in colors, I can do it in, or they can use my black and white for commercial stuff, and actually I have many more clients and new ones around the world which wants exactly my style, because I gave them consistency in my style that they start to pay for it, So actually I found out that the effect was opposite, that it's starting to bring me more and more clients, which is interesting because I was expecting that I will maybe lose all the clients, but it was
Yeah, but you
different.
still have, I mean, that's really the purpose of a website, right?
Yeah,
to
but
put your commercial
I don't
work on
have
there.
so much commercial. I do a lot of commercial things which are very commercial, like like shoes and things like that. I'm not showing anybody. It's also not even on my site, Yeah, but I have on my site kind of like selection of my fashion projects which I like, and there's only a few images, So people actually cannot see my work, If you go walk through the Prague, there are billboards of my work. Some family happy, smiling with some product. Nobody knows that it's my work, And I I I found out that you don't need to show them because if you have strong portfolio, like something that people don't have, and for example, in my country, I have the most followers on my Instagram from the photographers. I think there's a one more. He's shooting some kind of nature, but people see it. They consider you as one of the best. So they see your work, and if they ask you about portfolio, you will send them. So in the past they also cannot see your work, you need to send them book, so it's the same
I
actually.
also think you can become typecast or you can become pigeonholed. If you show your previous commercial work, then other clients might look at that and go, oh, we don't want someone who does that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
You leave more opportunity, I think,
Yeah.
more creative freedom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So
also.
talk to me a little bit about the brands that you work with and specifically your Fujifilm X photographer, right?
Yeah,
What does that actually mean and what does that entail and what do you have to do for it? How do you get it? Tell us all about it.
Yeah. It's I for my long time in my life I was shooting all the brands. I had the Canon, Nikon, Olympus, Sony, Pentax, Hasselblad. I tried all the cameras, and I think I spent this book was mostly shot on Pentax 645Z, because when I take a medium format to my hands, since the time of Pentax, I was shooting on the medium format, because of the format itself, like 6 on 40 6.4.5, and I felt like it's much better than like this kind of 2.3, and and then when the Fuji came, the first Fuji, I was not so interested because the first cameras were like kind of like okay, but kind of like complicated for me. But Fuji really make a lot of efforts to make the camera really good. And before that, I was working with Hasselblad for I think 1.5 year, and Hasselblad was very cold camera. Was kind of like I have this
Swedish.
X1D Mark II and I have H6D, and they were kind of like boring. I was so bored to shoot with that, And then when I tried the first the 100S from Fujifilm, I was like, wow, it's so light, it's so enjoyable. I enjoyed the shooting
The
with
first GFX 100.
it was 100S.
100S.
Yeah, it was
Was
the
that the
light
second?
one. It was actually second
Okay,
100, yeah. Because the other one was too big for me.
Yeah, it was big and
Yeah,
clunky and the screen wasn't. Yeah.
And this one was kind of like easy to use, and I feel like so comfort with that. And I was very, very, and I like one thing that I can see a black and white word directly in the camera.
Right.
And so I started with this camera, and I was so obsessed with this camera, and because I was ambassador of Hasselblad, and I didn't want to shoot with Hasselblad anymore, so I simply asked Fujifilm if I can be ambassador. And I showed them in portfolio, like, yes, Lucas, yes, we would like to have you on board, So I asked for it actually, and it happened, So I became not locally ambassador, but also like a worldwide ambassador.
Wow.
And the thing is very nice about that, for example, Fujifilm is also helping me with the book, they help me with the sometimes, for example, here, they also give me some money to be here that I can create my projects, so it's kind of
That's
nice. You can
great.
ask the Fujifilm for some little money to help you with some project, so this is very nice. They really nicely take care of the photographers, and
Just writing on my list, contact Fujifilm. No, I'm a Hasselblad guy. I've got an H60 in there and an X2D, and I've had this love with Hasselblad for a while. So I appreciate, obviously it's not for everyone, but I mean, they're all, medium format is the thing that binds all these
Yeah,
together, and there is no comparison
yeah,
in my opinion.
yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. Tell us about the future. I know you're working on your book now, and do you often do workshops, or is that a new thing that's coming in?
Workshop, I'm doing it for, I don't know, 12 years maybe.
Oh, okay.
And I'm doing only one workshop per year in my country. Then I do now like one in Poland, sometimes in another country. But I'm trying to keep it exclusive, only one day, because of course it's also I need to prepare for it, and I don't have time to do like workshops like every day. So
Wow, one
only
day,
one
time per
day
year.
a year.
How many people?
Most of the time I have like about 16 people there.
60?
16.
16.
Yeah. I cannot manage more.
How do you? What do you teach in that day? I mean, you can only kind of squeeze a tiny little bit of knowledge
I
into one
teach
day.
a lot of theory.
Okay.
I'm trying to explain people that photography is mainly here, like it's a process in your brain. So I'm telling them my story, that there were some kind of like up and downs in my story. So I'm telling the story. Then I tell them what is needed for photography from my perspective, the collaboration teams, where you are living actually, how you are creative, the creative processes, and all these things. Mostly it's a lot of talkings, a lot of talkings. And then we do a little bit of shooting, but actually I'm like telling people like it's better to listen to me, listen to knowledge, than to shoot, because shooting you can learn by in the way. Of course we will do some shooting. I'll explain something about the light, about that, about the posing, but it's not necessary, because you will learn this. But the knowledge itself is the main thing there. So I'm trying to talk a lot, so they have to listen to me for 6 hours how I'm talking. And I think that's a different workshop than the just okay, we will shoot here, stage 1, stage 2. No. I think it's worthless. The main thing is really to listen to me, and to kind of like absorb the experience and get some points like that when what you can do. And people are always motivated from my workshop. And so I kind of like charging them to do something more, because they are lazy, or they were missing something in their life, or and I'm criticizing their work. I'm not the guy, like I was in Poland, and I start to say, oh, this is really bad, and they're like, the lady from the workshop is like, Lukas, you cannot tell them, you have to sometimes like encourage them. It's like, but really I have to tell them like it's shit, because they need to start really doing it properly. Not like if the people are telling you like for 10 years that you're doing it well and your images are looking very bad, it's better to tell them like, no, it's really bad. So really we have to think about it more. So to understand the reality. And I think it has more value than just like, yeah, it's nice.
Yeah,
everybody can tell it.
I'm kind of with you.
Yeah.
Give us one bit of, or one favorite tip, or one favorite piece of advice that maybe you don't cover in your workshop, maybe you do cover in your workshop, but kind of let's get a Lukas exclusive in terms of an
I think
indication.
that if I will see my past, what I was doing, the first thing is like to shoot really a lot, work hard. Like it will not, you will not become good if you're shooting once or 2 months. You have to shoot every day, if it's possible, every day. And like like train your eyes. Like train it all the time. Like shoot, and it will come up in the time. The other thing is like to read the books, go the knowledge, because more clever you are, more experience you have in everything, your work will be better. Because you can read a story about traveling, but it will actually influence your way of thinking. You will travel, you will start travel, and then when you start travel, you will start shooting in locations like not be stuck in your city. Also really get the experience everywhere, and be in the society of creatives. Like be inside of them. Like don't go to the pub and listen to some guys about parties. You need to be in the society of creatives, that they will be inspiring you. They have their own ways. Even if it's painter or singer, they needed to find some solution. So you need to also listen to them, because they can give you some nice experience. Also, so listen to people, be open, and yeah, I think like that.
What I get from that is a combination of theory and practical
Yeah,
learning,
exactly,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
The only way to gain wisdom, which is
Exactly.
everything,
Yes.
especially in art, bring so much complexity into what you're trying to do and what you're trying to say by having wisdom, that's one thing is reading and learning theory and kind of getting a kind of binary knowledge into your brain. And then there's another thing, kind of putting that into practice and just going to experiment and trying, but also learning from other people, right? That's why I love this format as well, just talking to other artists. Well, we are at the end of our wonderful conversation. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm going to kind of do a little conversation card tradition. So I will ask you to pick one of these at random and then just hand it to me face down and I'll ask you the question. All right, cool. Thanks. Okay. What is one mistake that you have made that you have been scored? Let me redo this. Okay. What is one mistake that you have made that you have been scared to address or reconcile?
I don't understand the last word.
Reconcile means fix.
So something like, if I made some mistake that I would like to fix in my life.
But you haven't fixed. You've been too scared to fix.
I don't think that it will be something related to photography, but maybe I can answer in different way. Maybe it will be also...
It doesn't have to be photography. It can be anything.
But anyway, I will tell about this story because I was in Milano that time when I was young. And I had this opportunity to work more and became maybe more fashion photographer. And after 3 years, first, I decided to leave Milano and go back to Prague because I was kind of like the magazines and clients from Prague, they want to work with me. And I was young and I was thinking like, I can be in Prague, I can enjoy my life still, and I don't need to be in Milano. And it will be actually great to go. And I said to my agent that I would like to go back to Prague. He's like, no. You're on the way to shoot Italian Vogue. So don't go back to Prague because you will just lose it, you know? And I was like young and I didn't listen to these people. And I was like, no, I want to be in Prague, enjoy my friends. Also, I will shoot for the magazines there. It was the biggest mistake in my life. Because if I will stay there in Milano, it will make me maybe into the bigger magazines in Italy. Maybe not, I'm not sure yet. But from the perspective of time, I consider it as a mistake that I left the biggest opportunity in my life to maybe shoot for Italian Vogue, maybe, you know, and I cannot change it anymore. But also, it's the way of life. So maybe because of that, maybe I got a little different experience, you know, because I fall down on the ground after years that I was like, I didn't develop enough, you know, and I felt like I need to go again up, you know. So I stand up and I went again, you know. So it was like this in my life, and then it's also experience, you know. So, and that question, if it's not related to photography, I don't think I made some like a mistake that I want to undo or something like a big, because everything, but I think like everything what you do, even if you do mistakes, it's experience. You need to fall down first to recognize, you know, recognize what is good in your life, you know. So
I think as long as you understand that mistake and learn from it. I mean, a lot of people make mistakes and just kind of ignore it. And just, you know, make the same mistakes over and over and over.
Yeah,
right?
It's actually the mistakes are good for you, you know, like you need to make the mistakes to understand what you are doing. If you'll not be doing mistakes, or you will think that you're not doing mistakes, then you are lost, you know. You need to always understand that you're doing mistakes. And a lot of mistakes, everybody's doing mistakes. Like there is nobody in the whole planet that they didn't do any mistake. Everybody's just doing mistakes. You are young, you're naive, you are doing this and that. And your life is just like punching you. And then in after years, you just know that, oh, yeah, I was stupid, you know.
I've only made one mistake and that was traumatic, but I'm joking. Final question before we let you go to your next photo shoot. This is from one of our previous guests, Luca Epifani, and I'm going to get you to write a question for the next guest, not knowing who they are. And he asked, if you weren't doing what you're doing today, what do you think you would be doing instead?
That's a nice question. Actually, I don't know, because when I was in the high school, I was thinking that I would be studying philosophy, you know. But I also know that I'm artist, so that I need to do something else. Maybe I will be a musician. I will produce electronic music because I was doing it before photography. And if there will be no photography, maybe I will be a music producer. Probably, yeah.
What do you play?
I was doing like I was producing music like on in the software, on the computers. Probably I will be today sitting in a studio. I will have a lot of synthesizers, and I will be creating electronic music. Probably, I don't know. So maybe I think this is the highest probability that I will be doing this. Will be the producing electronic music. Yeah.
Well, I hope you don't do that, because I want you to keep doing what you're doing. It's fantastic to meet you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much also.
And good luck with the next book.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Cheers.